Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. It's all about spirits of fashion. Yes, go to the website, spiritsoffashion.com. And of course, you have an amazing podcast schedule ahead here with our friend Karen, better known as Ren, Antonowicz, joining us here to talk more about all she does. And amazing that she teaches the fashion of history and also is helping so many people with these beautiful period pieces and the work she does. She's back today to show us actually some of the collection. And we're going to talk to her about more of her presentations today and how she could come present for you. So, Ren, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Jill. Hope you are too.
I am. Thank you so much. Chilly day in Vermont, or is it still a little warm?
We had a little sprinkling of snow this morning.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought I overslept for 2 months because I saw snow on the ground.
Oh, my
It's already
goodness.
gone.
And you're in Chester, Vermont, right? So
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do.
Okay, well, I go throughout New England right now doing in-person, mostly in-person, some virtual presentations on history of fashion, all different eras. It could be as old as the Tudor period. It can be as late as 1980s if you'd like. But I cover all different eras and talk about what was going on at the time and how the fashions were influenced by that and what was going on at the time. So fashions were definitely influenced by everything from music, politics, what was going on socially, economically. So it's definitely a fun topic for most people. I do see plenty of seniors because I do a lot of senior centers and libraries and residential homes for seniors. So, but I do see some young people as well. So
beautiful.
Lots of fun.
And how do we contact you? Share the website again?
Yes, it's spiritsoffashion.com.
Okay.
I also have an Instagram at Spirits of Fashion Passion and a Facebook at Spirits of Fashion.
Ooh.
Also a YouTube channel, same thing, Spirits of Fashion.
Yes. And for today, I know you're going to walk us through a little bit about some of your pieces. And for those that may not know first, though, just a little more about your background. What got you into this and started?
Well, I started out with another career and just never loved it, never was inspired really by it. But I went for a good 20 years without knowing what else I should do, except open a vintage store because I was fascinated with vintage clothing and accessories and started collecting them in my late 20s. And I suffered through a lot of years of being not very content with my career and finally was talking to a friend when I was pretty much at the end of my rope. And I asked him, I said, any advice from you? I just can't do any more of this work. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I love vintage and antique clothing, but I can't go to school for that. And I can't afford to open a store. He said, oh, you can go to school for it. This is how the universe works, folks, in my opinion. I didn't know this, but at URI, University of Rhode Island, where I went as an undergrad, has a program with a master's and a concentration on historic dress and textiles. And I did not have any idea of that. That was the turning point of my life. It changed everything. I went back to school, taught for 13 years at the college level, and eventually was asked to do a program such as I do now for the anniversary of the Titanic. So this was 2012. I did it for the library. And that's when I knew that was my audience. So I've been doing it ever since.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on this. And we're excited that you're here again today. And, just to point out, you're available. What areas are you working in mostly? I know people can hire you, right? I mean, really anywhere. But to give me a little bit of that background. So where can we find you? People can reach out.
Well, I do on my website, I do have both a newsletter that you can sign up for that's free. It tells you where I'm going to be and what the topic is. It's also on my Google Calendar on the website. Same thing. But virtually, if people, if they can't bring me out there, it's expensive to travel, I know. But if I can do in-person presentations anywhere, if they want me to travel there. Otherwise, I can do any one of them virtually. Yeah. And the only difference is it's the same program. The only difference is when I'm showing the clothing and accessories from whatever period I'm talking about, you can't touch them because you're not there with me. That's the only difference. It's still educational, it's still fun. I talk about all the things I talk about in person. So that's the only difference.
Yep.
But I would love to do these anywhere who would like to hire me. And I will even specially design a program. If you have a certain thing in mind and I don't already have it done on my website, it doesn't mean that I can't do it or won't do it. Just
Yeah.
so you know.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, because style never dies. And,
Right.
with your presentations, I know throughout the area, you really bring some amazing pieces without breaking the bank, as you say. But you have some, I don't know which one's behind you. You have the Mad Men era, right? You talked about the Civil War.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
have? What do you want to show us today? I can't wait to see.
Well, first of all, I always tell my audience what I'm wearing. So I'm wearing a cool jacket from the 40s.
Oh, wow.
Long story short, the 40s during the wartime, only a certain amount of material could be used because it was needed for the war effort. So they had to get very creative with the design. These do have a small amount of shoulder padding in them and a
Okay.
really cool design. Jill, you can see it. I know the audience
Yeah.
can't really see it, but it's just a really cool jacket. And I'm wearing my mother's hat from the 40s as well. So it's just the hats were the thing that people could go a little crazy with because most of the materials weren't needed for the war. So they could have a lot of fun with hats. But I'm going to start with a 20s dress that I have. This was found by my niece. Believe it or not, a woman was selling a whole collection of 20s pieces from her family. She only wanted them to go to somebody who would appreciate them. She sold the whole 12, 13
Ah,
pieces for $5.
what?
And this was one of them. And it's a beautiful salmon colored satin dress with beautiful buckles in diamante and with the low waistline. And there's also another buckle right up here at the shoulder. I know that can't be seen, but I'm trying to grab that there for you so you can see it, Jill. So this is one of the pieces that's in perfect condition. I try to take very good care of the clothing. Some of it does get
Wow.
damaged or has been damaged, but not by my audiences or me. It just over time, sometimes silk
Yeah.
shatters. But this piece is still in incredible condition.
How do you store all this? Just curious. I mean, like,
Oh,
I know it's
well, I
out
have a
for it today, but like, what do you normally
yes.
do?
Depending on the piece and the age, some pieces are so fragile that I put them in boxes. I don't keep them on hangers anymore.
Okay.
And it's recommended that acid-free boxes and acid-free tissue be used so that whatever's coming from regular paper and regular boxes doesn't damage the fabric. Oils from your hands can damage fabric as well, which is why
Okay.
I wore white gloves all through grad school. But these pieces are in very good condition. I'm very careful with them, and I want my audience to be able to enjoy them. So I do bring those with me, and I don't make them wear white gloves, but they're very respectful. And like I said, I keep them stored either in a closet if they can handle that, or in my fold-up boxes in the basement. Good thing we have a big basement.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see what else is on tap for us
Okay.
today.
Another 40s jacket.
Ooh.
This is incredible. It's crepe. I found it in San Diego in the late 90s in a vintage store.
Ooh.
Victory Pin is from Besame, which is a cosmetics company that reproduces cosmetics from different periods. It's amazing. They do have great products. But this, look at the sailor style,
Wow.
this jacket. The back is what's so stunning. I wish you could all see it. It's incredible. So that's my 40s piece. It does have a little bit of padding. It's definitely a 40s jacket
Okay.
inspired, of course, by the Navy forces. The next few pieces are from the 50s. I've never seen,
Ooh.
now the sweaters in the 50s were usually on the short side with either three-quarter sleeves or long sleeves,
Okay.
and they often have a crepe lining, but I've never seen one with sequins completely over the entire
Yeah.
jacket. And this one is light pink and dark pink, like a bright pink, and it's an ombre design. And I just will mention, I also pulled out a couple of pieces that I bring when I do one of my events on styling with thrifted and vintage items, because these should be statement pieces. I help my seniors to not feel so invisible by helping them to see that they can just add something that's a statement to an outfit that's sort of plain, but still feel like they're being stylish and very unique.
Wow.
So this is one of the pieces, not only for the 50s, but also for my seniors. So
Got
there's
it.
another sweater is this one,
Wow.
which is feels like cashmere, doesn't have a label to tell you what, they didn't have to have the labels to have all of that information back then, but it does have a beautiful label. It says Joseph the Furrier, a lace lining with satin under there. This is fur. I don't believe in wearing new fur, but this is vintage, and I'm just carrying on the life of this piece that was so beautifully made with the gorgeous
Yeah.
rhinestone clip. So this is another statement piece, but it's also from the 50s.
Okay.
And this is part of a suit, but I just thought I'd show you the jacket, another fur collar piece, beautiful jacket. It's tan, for those of you who can't see it, with a mink collar,
Mm-hmm.
and then one button, and then the back has this bow it's gathered and has this cool bow detail right here.
Wow.
So it's a long skirt, of course, below the
Yeah.
knee because it's 50s. And then I do the swinging 60s too. That's a really popular one, especially with seniors, because they remember either wearing it or having relatives who wore it. So I actually, for those of you who don't know, one of the designers of the time that was very big was Emilio Pucci.
Okay.
And Emilio Pucci designed very psychedelic type designs in his clothing and accessories, all different color combinations, and always signed his fabric with Emilio. And this
Really?
skirt,
Let me see
yeah,
this.
you can see this right here. Jill, you can
Oh,
see it.
wow.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
No, I did not buy this. I was fortunate enough to get this from a colleague that when I was teaching, her mother owned this, and she said, I want you to have it. I know what you do. I know that you love doing that.
Oh,
So
that's beautiful.
it doesn't fit me anymore. The weight
Mm-hmm.
is way too small. So another one is this Nehru jacket. And talk about a statement piece. I got this at auction. It's pink, orange, and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible with the Nehru collar from the late 60s. Hot pink lining, and had been a G Fox specialty shop on the fifth
Wow.
floor, original. So I
Amazing.
grabbed it at auction. And it could be worn today, just like all of these other things could. It's in perfect condition.
Wow.
Next one is a dress that I always wear myself for the swinging 60s. This is
Oh.
a psychedelic
Oh,
60s
wow.
dress, perfect for the period, handmade. It might have
Mm-hmm.
been someone's home ec project, who knows, in high school. But
Yeah.
it's completely lined with orange and in incredible condition. I have worn this so far many times, and you can't kill it. It's in great shape because they made things to last.
Yeah.
Here is this beautiful psychedelic print dress. And then the last thing I thought I would do is show you some of the things for my seniors. Now, any of the things that I've picked out and shown could be worn by seniors just to give that unique look. There is a blog that's become movies. It's called Advanced Style, and
Okay.
it's by a gentleman named Ari Seth Cohen, who was inspired by his
Hmm.
grandmother's style. And he photographs women all over New York who have this great, unique style. Iris Apfel, who passed recently at, I think, 102, she had that style, and she was one of the ladies that were featured in one of his films. But I find things like this crazy jacket that is a lime green, sort of a felt
Oh.
that has this screaming gold line
Mm-hmm.
and all kinds of detail and
Wow.
pockets. And my seniors go crazy. They just say, like, where did you find this? They say, I found it in a thrift store. You can find things for really, really little money and change your personal style completely. And if it's too scary,
Yeah.
start with something like this. Start with an accessory. Start with a bag, a belt, a hat, something that puts a little stamp on who you are and expresses the person you are now, whether you're a senior, whether you are still in school and you want to dress a little differently, you're going out into the work world. But I believe in expressing. I think style expression, people are afraid to do that. But dig down
Mm-hmm.
see who you really are authentically, and then show people. And you will get compliments, I promise you. Because if it's right for you, people will want to be like that and say,
Yeah.
wow, I wish I had the courage to dress like that. And the
Yeah.
last piece is another crazy piece, which I got at a thrift store. Again, it's all sequins. It's not old,
Okay.
but it looks like a performance type jacket, almost a tuxedo type, but it's all sequins, all different colors. And then a friend of mine bought me this at a thrift store because she said, boy, I think of you, Ren. Whenever I saw this, I had to buy it. It's a tie covered with beads and sequins
Oh my
that I think you
goodness.
probably got for a couple of bucks.
How
So
do you clean that? Can you dry clean that or it melts?
well, that is a very good question. If I don't need to dry clean something, if I'm not worried, really worried about any problem with it, I don't do it because I do agree that you can melt sequins and I don't want to do that, especially if you don't know the origin of the piece or how old the piece is.
Yeah.
And so what I do sometimes is hang things outside and just let them get some fresh air. And so I do dry clean a lot, but if I can't do that, I'll definitely just air it out. And then I feel better about at least, or you can steam. You can
Yeah.
steam. If you have a good steamer, be careful of not melting things, but you can steam fabrics and that does both clean it and iron it in a way, get the
Yeah.
wrinkles out.
All right, good to
Yeah.
know. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this tutorial. Anything else? What about the earrings, by the way, that you're wearing?
Oh, these are new. I just got them at the thrift store
Oh,
that I
see?
work at. I
I love
volunteer.
that you shop at thrift stores. You can find such great stuff there.
You can. And some people they don't like the idea of wearing something that's been worn before, or they think it might be dirty or whatever. Most things you can take home, throw in the washer, or like I said, dry clean or
Yeah.
steam it. And you're going to be pretty sure you're going to be just fine.
Well,
Um,
you know what my greatest comparison with
yeah.
just to piggyback off that thought is here are people who are wearing diamonds and jewelry. They're
Mhm.
used like I never knew
Oh,
until
yeah, that's right.
my
That's right.
you get a diamond ring, but that ring has been somewhere. It's very unheard of to buy it's a new diamond ring, but that ring has been from someone to someone to someone to someone. It's not freshly mined for you. These diamonds get
No,
circuit right. So
I
look at it
love it.
that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Yeah,
Or
look
the
at
other thing is, you go to a new store, right? Tags are still on something. How do you know how many people tried that thing on before you bought it? Right?
exactly. Yeah.
It's the same idea, in my opinion. But my point for seniors, again, I wanted to emphasize them a little bit because I see so many.
Yes.
And what I love about it is that I hope to allow people of a certain age, even men, not just women, men, to try a little harder because it makes you feel it's not about looking younger. It's about feeling vibrant
I
and
agree.
feeling good in your own skin. I mean, I'm a woman of a certain age, and after a certain period of time, we'll call the change, even though it's really called menopause. Your body does change, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you give up and say, "Oh, I don't care what I look like
So
anymore."
true.
No,
Yeah.
it makes me feel a million times better when I get something on that I feel good in, throw a little makeup on, and it just makes me feel better about me, which gives me more to give to other people.
Yeah.
It really does. So I hope that helps people, understand what I do and how I can help their groups, whether they're seniors, whether they're people who come to historical societies, libraries. It's about history and style, not just about fashion at all. I do cover a lot about what's going on in an era. So World War II, for example,
I was going to
or
say,
the
what
Great
eras? Walk
Depression.
us through all that you
Yeah.
are an
Okay.
expert
I
in.
do. Let's see. The Tudor fashion. There's a very small group of people who ask for that because it's way back, and not everybody's interested in that. But I love it.
How way back
Uh,
is the Tudor age? Is it?
it's the 1500s into the 1600s. So starting with Henry VIII in the early 1500s, and then into the very early 1600s when Queen Elizabeth died. So that's the main period where there's a lot of fancy dress for men. It wasn't just women. And that
Mm-hmm.
continued until the French Revolution at the end of the 18th century, because men still dressed very fancy. Those who could afford it, those who were nobility, of course, the king and queen,
Mm-hmm.
who were on the upper class, segment of society would wear velvets and laces and even heeled shoes for men. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think, well, isn't that effeminate? No, it was considered very masculine. Big, big curly wigs. Charles II in England had a big giant curly wig, like came up really high and was really long and fantastic. But now, I mean, the 60s, yeah, you'd see men with long hair, but it was theirs, it wasn't wigs. But back then they would use wigs for that. Victorian period is a good to talk about because Queen Victoria, people did follow her style, but it was also a period of that would become the Gilded Age. And that's one of my presentations, which was right after the Civil War in the 1860s to about the turn of the century. There's, debate on how far it went, but just about the turn of the century or a little after that. Think about New York society and Newport, Rhode Island, where people would summer in Newport because they could afford to get out of the heat of New York and go to Newport and live in these giant mansions, which they called summer cottages.
Yeah.
And that's where I got my first experience was the breakers. And I know I talked about that last time, and it really did something to me. And it just, the way they lived, it was gracious. It wasn't a great time for everybody because there were so many people who couldn't even afford to eat. But there were those in the upper echelons of society who, the bustle period and the beautiful garments and accessories and what they surrounded themselves with. Marble, everything was marble. A lot was copied from Europe. So whole rooms could be disassembled and then reassembled here so that they had a European style, whatever was popular at the time. Fascinating. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's a good period for me to do. And then, of course, you've got the Downton Abbey age, which is 1912 through the 20s I do. Then I do the Roaring Twenties on its own. I can do the Golden Age of Hollywood, which is wide cover 30s through the 50s. And then the Mad Men is, even though Mad Men was supposed to be 60 to 69, I cover the 50s too, because a lot of fashions were similar to the early 60s. So I cover all of that as well. And then there's the swinging 60s. 70s is something I'd love to start doing. There was so much going on in music and fashion in the 70s. The movie Bohemian Rhapsody about Queen and Freddie Mercury is one of my favorites of all time, and the fashions are fabulous. And I just would love to have the opportunity to, to showcase that for people. So, and those are my basic. I do more than that. I do Jane Austen era, which is 1800 too.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Golden Age, I did that. The Hollywood style for the golden years is all about style, 50 and over or 60 and over. And again, just like the other one I talked about, this helps women express themselves or men to express themselves and not be afraid to show a new personality that they might have now that they didn't have then, or another aspect of their personalities. One woman said to me, it was a senior center, and she came up to me and said, I have a jacket in the closet I've had forever that has sequin epaulets on it, and I'm going to wear it to the senior center. I said, good for you.
Awesome.
Wear it. Go out and wear it. So they do get inspired. But, the opportunity to help people, because fashion has always thought to be about the young. That is, in my opinion, not true at all. So, I'd like to get the word out with that too, Jill, and make people feel happy again getting dressed.
Oh, thank you for that. And thank you for being here again. And let's, it's time to go, unfortunately.
I know.
How do we contact you, sweetheart? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jill. It's spiritsoffashion.com. And you can contact me right from there, or you can DM me on Instagram at Spirits of Fashion Passion, or on Facebook, Spirits of Fashion, and of course my YouTube channel, which is Spirits of Fashion.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here, and looking forward to next week. Are we back on again?
Not yet. No,
Oh.
not yet. I just did the 2 for now.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been a pleasure
back.
getting to know you, and hopefully we'll reconnect again. And best of luck with
hope
all
so,
your
too.
endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Bye,
Thank
sweetheart.
you. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.